Often when a person has quit smoking, somewhere along the way, it may be months down the line, it may be years down the line, it may be days or weeks down the line, someone will ask them, about their smoking status. And often when people are first quitting, they kind of have trouble figuring out how should they answer that question. Do they want to call themselves a non-smoker? Do they want to call themselves an ex-smoker, a former smoker, a smoker trying to quit? There's different terms, and people are sometimes in a kind of state of confusion of which term really applies to them. There's quite a few people who go straight to the term non-smoker. They just say they don't smoke anymore. And technically it's true. If you don't smoke anymore, you're a non-smoker. Problem is, the classic definition of non-smoker in many people's views is somebody who's never smoked. And I want people who've quit smoking to be very careful that they really understand what their status actually is. They are former smokers. They are people who used to smoke. They are ex-smokers. Yes, they don't smoke right now, so they're non-smokers, if you're just using that as a straight definition. But I just want to make sure that there's never this confusion between non-smoker and never smoker. Those two terms are not interchangeable. Yes, never smokers are non-smokers, but non-smokers are not necessarily never smokers. If a person used to smoke and now they've quit, they are never going to be never smokers. They are going to be ex-smokers, again, who happen to be non-smokers now, but ex-smokers. Now, some people are troubled because of that term still being applied to them and thinking about it in those terms, but for all practical purposes, they really have to think about it in those terms, because I want them to understand what the difference between a never smoker is and an ex-smoker. A never smoker is a person who could be at a party one day, see a group of people smoking, thinking, wow, that looks strange, that looks bizarre, but, maybe they're tempted for some reason. They never smoked a cigarette in their life, and they're wondering what it's going to be like, and for some reason, sanity seems to be eluding them at the moment. And, a never smoker, seeing a bunch of people smoking and now wanting to walk up to them and maybe asking them for a cigarette and taking a cigarette. Yeah, it can happen. Take the cigarette. Take a nice, deep drag. Inhale as hard as they can. The never smoker is likely going to gag, get sick, nauseous, maybe throw up, cough. It'll be a horrible reaction. They'll turn green. I mean, it's just something where people witnessing it can't believe the sight of what this person is going through, from just taking a drag on a cigarette. They're not accustomed. They didn't understand the assault that was going to happen to their trachea, what was going to happen in their throat that was going to hurt them so bad and make them so sick. I mean, it's a horrible reaction. And this never smoker will hopefully, have this reaction that it's so bad, so terrible, that they'll look at people who smoke thinking, you're insane for doing this. I can't believe you're doing this. Have just this horrible experience, walk away, remembering it for the rest of their life, thinking how terrible this was, and maybe that'll be the last occurrence. That's how a never smoker could handle a situation like that. Now, let's look at an ex-smoker at the same party, watching the same group of people, having a good time with a cigarette, thinking, oh my God, they'd like to join in. Wonder what it would be like. Go and ask somebody for a cigarette. Same brand, the exact same scenario is set up here between the never smoker and the ex-smoker. The ex-smoker can take the cigarette, take that deep drag, then all of a sudden, gag, cough, get nauseous, throw up, have this horrible taste in their mouth, all the same reactions. Everything equal to the never smoker, this horrible reaction, sick to their stomach, everyone looking at them thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with this person? Are they dying from, what they're viewing at this point in time? Horrible, horrible reactions that you would think, like the never smoker, they'd get the sensation like, oh my God, why are people doing this? This is nuts. That's the last time I'll ever do that. But that's not what happens to an ex-smoker in that situation. Yes, they have all the nausea. Yes, they have the burning in the throat. They have the horrible reaction. Everything equal. The one thing that changes is 5 to 10 or 20 minutes later, they needed another cigarette. You see, that didn't happen to the never smoker. The never smoker is disgusted by the occurrence. The ex-smoker has basically reintroduced nicotine into their bloodstream, and they are now going into a drug withdrawal state if they don't take that cigarette 10 or 15 or 20 minutes down the line, and then another one 20 minutes after that, another 20 minutes after that, possibly every 20 minutes for the rest of their waking life, if there's no one restricting them and not letting them smoke for long time periods. That is the difference between a never smoker and an ex-smoker. An ex-smoker is still an addict in recovery. Yes, there's no sign of the addiction. When you get months and years and decades under your belt, there's no sign that you've been a smoker. Nothing you can relate to, physically, feeling-wise. But your brain has been altered. Your body has been altered. And if nicotine is introduced into the system, it'll take you down the path it had you before when you were a smoker, before you had quit. So, yes, the term you could use for other people's purposes, fine, non-smoker at any given moment. But make sure you understand that the true status that you're dealing with, again, is ex-smoker or former smoker. The term smoker trying to quit, that's going to give you all the psychological problems of a smoker trying to quit. But the term of a person who has now made a conscious choice not to be a smoker anymore. Yes, you used to smoke. Yes, you had an active addiction. Now it's inactive. And there'll be no sign of it, no real consequence of it. There's no real consequence of being having a past active addiction to nicotine, except if you reintroduce nicotine and it is no longer, a past activity. It is now a need to have to smoke over and over again throughout your days, throughout your weeks, throughout the remainder of your shortened life, trying to sustain this constant nicotine level. As long as the nicotine doesn't get back in the system, you never go into that way of life again. The way to keep this quit going for all former smokers and all ex-smokers, the way to stay in that status and never having to be an active smoker again. Because again, as bad as former smoker or ex-smoker sounds, it doesn't sound as bad as having to answer the question, I'm a smoker. That's what people who smoke today, who smoked yesterday, who are going to be smoking tomorrow, when they're asked, what's your status? Their status is obvious. They are a smoker. As bad as ex-smoker sounds, smoker sounds a lot worse when you understand all the implications of being a smoker. The way to avoid ever having to be a smoker again is just a matter of sticking to the personal commitment you made the day you stopped to never take another puff.